So this is just a simple tutorial on setting up CTest with CMake on a simple C project that doesn't demand a full testing framework. So CTest is an automated testing system that ships with CMake. It's very simple. It just looks at the return value of main functions in your tests. So let's get started by looking at our project structure here. So in the CTest tutorial directory, we have three main things. So we have adder.c and adder.h. We'll define our functions here. And then we have the CMake list.txt. This will define how we want to build those, and this is where we'll enable testing and all that. There's also this get ignore. This just ignores this build folder. And we also have this test directory. This has adder_test.c, which is where we'll write our tests for adder.c. And then this one also has a CMake lists.txt, which will define how we're going to build adder_test.c, and it will add the test and register it with the build system. So let's get started by defining our adder function. So here in adder.h, we can go ahead and just put a pragma once flag in there. And then let's just say int adder add int a, int b. And then let's move over to our C file and define this. So we can include adder.h, and then we can say int adder add int a, int b, return a plus b. So just a simple adder function there. So next up, let's go ahead and define how we actually want to build this. So first line of a CMake file is almost always the CMake minimum required version. So let's go ahead and put that CMake minimum required version 3.28. So that's just the current version of my system. This may be different on your system. And then because we're doing a C project here, we should probably set up our C standard. So I'll set my C standard to C99. This is just what I work with most frequently. And then we can make that required. So C standard required on. Now we can set up our project. So I'll call this project CTest tutorial. You can call it whatever you want. And I'll only be using C in this. There won't be any C++. We can just say languages is just C. And next up, we can add our library. So if you noticed in adder.c, there is no main function. So this will be a library, not an executable. So we can go ahead and say add library, and we'll name this library adder, and that will just have adder.c. Next up, we can enable testing. And then we can add the subdirectory test. So let's move over to our adder test file and define our test here. So first thing we need to do is include adder.h. Now that we have that, we can write a main function here. So int main. And let's test out 1 plus 1. So int res equals adder underscore add 1 and 1. And then if res equals 2, we can return 0. So this will say that our test is successful, and if not, we can just return 1. This will show as a test failure. So next up, let's define our CMake list.txt for this test subdirectory. So first thing we need to do is include our parent directory. So we can just include directories .. This will get us access to adder.h. And then we can add our test executable. So add executable adder test, that's what we'll name it. And that will just include adder_test.c. Next up, we need to add our actual test. So over in this first CMake list, we enabled testing right here, and this will just register the test with that system. So we can add test. We'll name this test adder test. So this is the name that will be displayed in the log messages. And then the command to run that test is adder test. This just references this executable here. So next up, we just need to link the adder library to this test so it can access the functions that we're testing. So we can say target link libraries, adder test, and we want to link the adder library to that. So now that we have that, we can go ahead and cd into this build directory. So cd build, clear that out, and then we can run CMake ... So that will generate files based on this parent CMake here. Now that we've done that, we can run make all test, So you can see here we build the adder target. So this builds our main source file here with our testable function. And then after that, we build adder test. Next up, CTest runs those tests. We can see our test name here and that we passed. We can also run this with the CTest application. So here, now that this is compiled, I can run CTest, and that will also run our tests. We can also put this into a verbose mode, which will give us more details. The CTest executable also gives us access to logging messages from our tests, so let's add some of those as an example. So if we go ahead and include standard IO, and we just wanted to put at the top of our main function for this test a test starting message. If we run make test all again, or make all test, we won't see those logging messages. If we run normal CTest, we also won't see those, but if we run CTest verbose, that will give us access to those messages. You can see it right here. So that's all for this. This was just a simple overview of CTest for Simple C project. Let me know if you have any questions or want any follow-up. As always, source code is available, linked to in the description. Thanks.